Happy weekend! I am so excited. It's the weekend, which means I like to do my food prep. My kitchen, I actually just tidied it up, but one of my kids was cooking last night and I ended up looting the dishwasher. Now he's making himself pasta. Does anybody here have kids that cook? Got myself a cup of tea and my sourdough from yesterday. Now, it is the end of the month, and I am trying really hard to stick to our budget, so I'm not going to be like making some fantastical freeze dryer meal, although I do have something fun coming up with the freeze dryer. And I have a meal coming up where I am using something with some special ingredients that you might not be expecting. However, getting this done, the first thing I want to do for my food prep is I am going to be making some yummy breakfast treats, and it is one of my favorite things in the world. My husband, my kids love it.
So the weekend was the perfect time to make more of my delicious brown buttered granola. And you can see I'm just getting the oats nice and toasted. And this is such a great thing. And the reason why I like to do meal prep, especially on the weekends, is I didn't realize it, but by doing a little bit of work up front, I actually can save myself so much time because my mornings can be really rushed, and I can also be time crunch for dinners. Now, I'd like you to take a look at how dirty my stove is. Nice and dirty, but that's okay. Anyway, I also used to feel completely overwhelmed with meal prep, and also we want to have treats here and there. And it's funny because my husband would be like, how come you never make granola anymore? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make some.
My son is still cooking up a storm over there, and I am now just gonna get the nuts ready, the filling for this. And usually what I will do is add in, and I toast some coconut and I add coconut in, but I don't have any Costco. I'm like, don't you normally get like a ton of it for Christmas? But they haven't yet, so. And I keep my nuts in the freezer so that they stay fresh. And we get macadamia nuts. They're so good in my smoothies and stuff and in things like this. So I am just gonna get my nuts ready to go in this delicious, yummy, yummy meal.
Really wish I knew ahead of time. Before I had kids would have been great, but even sooner than now. But just how handy it is to do some stuff ahead of time. Now, one thing I will tell you that I used to make muffins on the weekend, probably about 9 years ago. I remember I had this standard muffin recipe, and maybe I'll post it on my blog one day. But I had this standard muffin recipe where I could throw in any accoutrement and make it like delicious, put whatever in there, and it was super duper handy, and that was great. And for some reason I fell off that train. And what's really nice about having stuff done ahead of time and just like creating those habits is you've got it. Now, I just want to point out quickly what I'm doing here is these are leftover leaves from my celery plant, so I freeze dried them. And I am bashing them up so that they fit in the jar. And I thought this would be perfect because celery and carrots come from the same family as parsley. So the leaves would be a perfect garnish for a lot of things. I don't often have a lot of parsley sitting around. Now, the other thing I like to do is vacuum seal my jars. So I will link that below as well. A lot of people ask about that. So I've got my vacuum sealer here. And while I work on the weekends, my cat likes to just chill out in his box. Now, if you have followed me for any length of time, you'll know my cat Crumpet has a balance disorder called cerebellar hypoplasia, CH, or wobbly kitten syndrome. And he has issues with coordination. Like, he walks really funny. He walks like he's got a wet diaper on. You know that baby walk when they have a wet diaper on? That is how my cat walks. And that box he was lying in, he used to have this box before. It was a banana box from Costco, and like that used to hold bananas. And then he out and out rejected it at some point after having it for years. And I was always like, oh, thank goodness the banana box is gone. But then I missed it. And so I ended up getting an order of meat from a local butcher, and that box came. So I put it down. I put that fuzzy thing in there, and he fell in love with it. And I'm actually so happy he has that box again, which I know might seem strange, but then he's there and he needs it. He makes biscuits. Sometimes he makes sourdough when he's like really doing his stretch and folds. It's just adorable. Now, I want to point out that I was browning the butter on the stove and it got a little extra brown. I'm not sure if that's smoke or steam coming off. However, I will tell you that this was fine. When you're making brown butter, you pour the butter off, the clarified butter. It's slightly overcooked, and that's okay because then I was able to strain it through a strainer and the flavor was still nutty and delicious and yummy. And of course, you're not going to keep those milk solids. And anytime you're dealing with a really sticky substance, whether it is maple syrup or honey or molasses, it's really handy to oil or grease your measuring vessel first. So that is actually what I did. I could have put that butter straight in the granola, but instead I poured it in that measuring cup first so that it would kind of like grease it up, which made it really easy to pour that maple syrup in. And then I could stir it really well. Now this recipe is down below and it's so good. It's so easy and such a treat. My husband, his favorite way to have the granola is he puts it on. I make yogurt in my Instant Pot, like literally the easiest thing you can do. Let me know if you want a blog post on that too or a video. I have been doing it for so long. When did I get my Instant Pot? Maybe 2017, for a really long time. And he likes to put this delicious granola on it. He'll put frozen blueberries. I've got some freeze-dried blueberries that are really good. He'll put that on. And it's a really, really yummy kind of breakfast treat. The other thing we'll do is we will just eat them as a cookie. I'm not going to lie. Just before I started recording this voiceover, I was eating granola by the handful. Okay, the granola is finishing. I'm not starting my candy yet. One thing I really want to do before tomorrow is get my garlic in the ground in the garden because we have, first of all, a windstorm coming tonight. So if it's in the ground, that's not going to be a problem. The other thing is there is rain coming. I live on Vancouver Island. It rains so much. So I thought if I can go ahead and just get this garlic in the ground, I can relax. So I'm going to do that. And the first thing I need to do is grab my drill auger, and of course the garage is getting a little messy again, but anyway, we're gonna get started on that. I quickly pulled the granola out, and you just let it sit for at least half an hour, even an hour, before you can break it up. But doesn't that look so good? It was darker than it looks. So my husband just started the first fire of the fall, and okay, I gotta figure out how to do this. I'm catching my auger. Okay, that's the other one. Yeah. And so there's a bit of smoke. You might be like, why is it smoky? But I'm just gonna... This is my auger, and I use this to make holes for the garlic. It makes the process so much quicker, and I love it. And these are my garlic varieties. I have got French Rocambole, which is a soft neck. I don't usually do soft neck, but I thought, why not? And here's Creme de la Rasa, because I get it from Rasa Farms in the interior of BC. And then Kettle River Giant, which is also in the interior of BC. These are both, the last two are long neck. So we're going to go prep the beds and then pop these in. And it's going to be so nice. And it smells lovely smoke. It's all good. So one of the things that I realize is that getting things that you don't feel like done is one of the best things that you can do, really. Like when you know it's going to be handy, just go ahead and do it. I did not feel like getting out there. I was really tired, but I knew I needed to get my garlic planted. It was sitting in one of my closets because we went away just when it got here. And then I was like, why does this closet smell like garlic? I thought one of the kids had like a sandwich or something in their backpack, but no, it was just the garlic, which was fine. So I ended up thinking, okay, I got to get it planted. It was going to storm and blah, blah coming. So I just thought if I do this now, this is helpful because it's, first of all, when you grow garlic, definitely my favorite One of my favorite things to grow because you plant it in September. You'll look how easy it is. I use this auger. I'll link that below. And it's great for holes. And you can get like bigger ones to attach to a drill as well to plant like full on plants in pots. But I find this super handy for doing bulbs. But once you plant garlic, basically, for me, my experience has been, knock on wood, I haven't had any big pest problems. But once you plant that garlic, you leave it until you pretty much harvest it in September. You might pull off some scapes, which are amazing. And I freeze dried my scapes because scapes, if you don't know, is the flower stalk that comes out. And it's like a very gentle garlicky flavor. It's really, really nice. And so you can snap those off. In fact, you should if you have a hard neck garlic. I'm maybe giving too much information here, but it's such an easy thing to plant. And then you harvest it in July. Actually, you harvest the scapes more in June, but then you harvest the actual plant in July, the bulb, and that's it. It's so easy. So this is an example of working ahead and how it can save you in the long run. Like maybe you're like, I would never grow garlic. What are you talking about? But if you like to garden, it's nice. Like we put things in, we do things ahead of time. It's so great. Ooh, is that not the nicest thing? A freshly planted bed, even if you will not harvest that crop for 9 months. It just feels good. And I'm going to be like, good night, garden. I do still have to top dress the beds with some compost, but I love it. Okay, so it's the next morning, and I always put like a little bit of milk in the freezer just for like 20 minutes while I read my Bible, and then I go ahead and I make my little breakfast. So I'm going to add the ingredients, and I'm going to put in my granola topper. It's going to be so good. And then in a bit, we're going to make some Skittles. Now, I have been adding vitamin D to my breakfast for the last year and a half, and I am telling you, I have been so much happier, especially during the winter time with the dark. It gets really dark and gloomy here, as I mentioned about the rain earlier. Think Seattle, but maybe even worse. So it's just been a game changer. So this breakfast, I'll just let you know quickly, just so in case you're wondering. So I add in milk, I put in the vitamin D, chia seeds, I add in protein powder. It's Diesel brand. It's the cookies and cream. And I also put in some raspberries, and I top it with granola, and it's so good. Today I am going to freeze dry some Skittles, and I have my iPad because I haven't done this for a little while, and I'm really excited. So we're going to go down to the freeze dryer, and I am going to change some settings because you can't do it from the regular settings, but these are so yummy. They're such a fun, delicious treat. So let's get this going. All right, I just got new trays. Okay, I have this huge bag. That's what happens when you send your husband, who's a candy-aholic. Yes, he loves candy. And I was like, well, I don't want to go over the budget. And then he bought this like gigantic bag of candy. Now, I just got these tray liners from Harvest Right, like the day before, because I was using parchment paper. You may have seen in a couple of videos I've done in the past. And like, especially for things like fruit, anything with sugar, of course, is going to stick. and the candy sticks, and then it makes your candy break or whatever, especially if you're doing like Jolly Ranchers, which like really puff up into these like delicious, yummy treats, but you don't want it to break. So I ended up doing 4 trays, and I mean, I'm not going to complain about extra candy. So went downstairs, popped these into the freeze dryer, and it starts out normally when you're doing things in the freeze dryer, it freezes them first, and you can actually go ahead and freeze stuff in your freezer first, which will save you a lot of time. That's what I did when I had like all the blueberries. I did so many. It was delicious, 50 pounds, and they were really, really good. But when you're doing candy, it actually warms the candy up. Now, some people, they will heat it up in the oven, but there also is the option to do it in the freeze dryer, which I'm going to do. And you pop it in, and it will pre-warm the trays, and you always have to make sure the valve is closed. You turn on candy mode and get it going, and it's just so good. I'm so excited. And what's fun is my son came over from university. He goes to university in Vancouver, and I was really excited because then I could make this delicious meal. So I already was making some sourdough bread, as you can see. And I mean, I don't know about you, but my family is obsessed with all bread. So I got that in, getting it cooked up. And then I thought, okay, well, I don't want to have a super carb heavy meal. I mean, I am perimenopausal. So then I went ahead, grabbed some cauliflower. And for our early dinner, I am going to make something that has a mixture of ingredients that I have prepared ahead of time. We're going to start with some pizza sauce. And no, it's not a usual pizza, but it's going to be so yummy. That's right. You guessed it. I am making a cauliflower crust pizza. So quite often what I will do is defrost the cauliflower, and then I will like squeeze it with some cheesecloth. But I was out of cheesecloth. So instead I thought, okay, well, what I'll do is heat it up on the stove, try to get some of the water out that way. And it actually worked really, really well. And I just was sort of spreading it out in the bowl so that it wasn't too hot and would not cook the egg. So I put in some frozen shredded mozzarella. We shred and freeze our mozzarella when we get it. I like to have things ready. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Add in a few more things, make it a nice, yummy crust. And then I use my lovely little dough whisk to whisk it up, and it just was perfect. And then I got some foil sheets ready on some cookie sheets and just brush them lightly with oil. Now, I will tell you, I should have used parchment paper because it stuck. I don't know what I was thinking. Every now and then I substitute foil for parchment, and then I completely regret it. So don't do what I did. Use parchment. And then I just spread it out over the 2 cookie sheets. And I mean, I like it kind of thin. It's so tasty. And what's really great about this cauliflower crust is it's really filling, because cauliflower is so healthy and it's full of fiber, and it's also got the fat. It's got a little bit of protein with the egg and the cheese, and it's much more filling. Now, while that cooked, I cooked it, I think, for about 20 minutes. Then I quickly was like, I gotta deal with this table. It's driving me nuts. I had these tomatoes here ripening. Now, some of them that are more yellow, they're actually this variety called Claire's Longkeeper, and they will last at room temperature, maybe a slightly cooler room, until around January, which is great. So I was saving the seeds after I topped a bunch of them, and then I just was like, I'm throwing them in the freezer, which was great. They were like ready to go. There was just a couple tomatoes left that needed to ripen. I had some peppers, which you'll see in a bit, and of course, like, save those seeds, like I said. And oh my gosh, it was just so nice to just knock that off my to-do list. And then I could focus on my pizza again. So I'm using one of my favorite ingredients. Now, I have a bunch of canned pizza sauce that I am finishing up, which you may have seen when I was down in the pantry. But I also love me some freeze-dried ingredients. So right here, I have got my freeze-dried peppers. Now, you can rehydrate them in water. You could rehydrate them in broth if you wanted to. Quite often, I will just throw the freeze-dried toppings right on the pizza. But I thought, since this is a cauliflower pizza, and there's not a lot to absorb any extra moisture. Like, it's pretty much vegetables on vegetables with a little bit of fat thrown in and some meat. And I thought, why not just rehydrate some of the peppers with the pizza sauce? So go ahead, did that. And I also like to use mushrooms. So I thought, okay, we're going to do the mushrooms differently. But what you could do ahead of time is just rehydrate your mushrooms and your peppers and then brown them up, like fry them up on the stove. But my whole point of doing all of this is on like you could make this meal on a busy weeknight, even if you didn't want to use the cauliflower crust. I literally only did that because we were also having sourdough bread. But you could put this on anything. That's what I like about the freeze-dried stuff. And I should mention, I completely forgot, that Harvest Right, which is the freeze dryer company, they're having a huge sale in November. I believe it starts November 1st. So click the link below to look into that. It is so worth it. I mean, it is an investment up front. And I bought mine back in, I think I got it in April, and it has just been incredible. I have saved so much money on takeout alone. I'm not joking. In September, we somehow spent $700 on takeout. It was just such a crazy month. But anyway, we've saved a ton of money on takeout alone with it. So check out my link below. And now I am putting on the mushrooms and then the rest of the toppings on this delicious, like healthy, you could call it a weeknight pizza, even though this technically is the weekend. And I'm going to tell you something. This was supposed to be a light weekend. I was not supposed to be very busy, but somehow I ended up doing too many things in the kitchen, but that's okay. It was still really good, and I'm very glad that I had all of these shortcut ingredients for myself. One of those ingredients was that I bought this salami package at Costco, which was great because then I was able to just have salami in the fridge, even though I had to hide it from my son, but that's fine. This was a great garden year. So I also had fermented some jalapenos, and I was like, well, those would be good on there. And they were. Popped it in the oven, and then, okay, so speaking of peppers, I had some hot peppers that I had to process. And let me tell you, whoa, Nelly, about these peppers. So I've got some Sugar Rush peach peppers here, which are a gorgeous peach color. They smell fruity and delicious. I mean, I really loved it. And I was trying to keep the peppers off my fingers, which is why I'm holding the knife so awkwardly. And then later I realized, well, how am I going to get them in the jar? So, spoiler alert. But I was chopping these up, and I've got to tell you, I'm going to tell you the end result of not even the flavor, but of the brine. So now that I'm recording this, they have been sitting for about 4 days. And I took a little bit of the brine because when you're fermenting food, you need to keep it submerged and you need to skim anything that's floated up off the top or anything like that. And I was like, oh, I wonder what this brine tastes like. Holy moly. Is this ever a spicy brine? So this is a mixture of jalapenos, just a few jalapenos, but it's habaneros, those amazing smelling Sugar Rush peach. Also, habaneros are a delicious fruity pepper as well. But holy smokes, the brine, which is really just sitting with these peppers. It's so spicy. Yesterday I had a salad. My husband's out of town, so I had a salad and for dinner, just lazy. And I put just a bit of that brine on top because I thought, well, that'll be good. Oh my gosh, I put way too much on. So I was like, I think that this hot sauce will probably be something that I am going to be keeping forever. I was like, I don't even know if I ever need to grow peppers again. I mean, I'll definitely grow jalapenos, but I don't even know. And I did save seeds as well. You can see I was actually placing some of them aside. So really, really good. Glad I got that chore done. Glad I got the tomatoes done. I mean, really good to get these things off of the to-do list, but oh, Nelly. Okay, so we are going to the movie soon. My husband picked up my eldest who's at the ferry. He's coming to see us, which is so great. But I'm starving, so I'm going to eat because I also need to package up the Skittles, and I'm going to show you how good this is. So, like I said, it was a little bit stuck. It wasn't a huge deal, but it certainly was not, it did not come up clean. But oh my goodness, so tasty. I actually just ate a tiny bit of the leftovers today for lunch, and it was so good.
They're done. Let's see. Look at these babies.
Yum. Okay, so we're gonna go to the movie. I'm not gonna film myself packaging these up, but stay tatty and mighty. Check out this video. Last week I did another fun preserving thing. I hope something great happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.